team and training NASCAR fans. If you're a NASCAR fan, come up and see me afterwards. I'll try to explain to you what putting a half around the wedge means. But I've watched him turn the challenges he faces into passion for the mission and dedication to supporting his team. Please join me then in extending a very warm welcome to Matt Newsom!
You know, there was a great article in Sports Illustrated a couple of years ago commemorating the supposed 2500th anniversary of the first marathon in ancient Greece. And you may recall the story. It starts out in the historical context of Philippides running 25 miles from Marathon to Athens to report victory over the Persians. And when he got there, he cried out, "We have won!" And then he collapsed and died. But here's where the account's different, because we don't know if he ran out of goo or if his coaches didn't put out enough water stops. Then the article transitions into current day marathons and the reasons why crazy folks like us run them. Reasons like getting in shape, remembering the death of a loved one, celebrating the lives of others, making new friends, losing weight, crossing something off a bucket list, raising money for a great cause, and celebrating their own lives. I know that all of these reasons and many others are represented in this room tonight. The team and training program is truly amazing that it enables all of these great motivations. As for me, I'm running in memory of my mother-in-law, who died of non-Hodgkin lymphoma 15 years ago, and the father of one of my coaches, James Carty, who died this training season. I'm running in honor of many blood cancer survivors whom I know, including relatives, friends, and teammates. And I'm running to celebrate my own journey. I'd always been a big blood donor, gallons and gallons of blood and platelets over the years, but I tried to donate a couple of times in the summer of 2009, and I was deferred because my red count was too low. So I called my doctor on a Monday and got an appointment for later that day, and he ran some blood work and said he'd call me with the results later in the week. But as I was checking out to leave, going out to my car, the nurse came running after me and said, "Mr. Newsom, Doc needs to see you." And that's not a good thing. In fact, he told me he had ordered an immediate CBC and that all of my blood counts, red, white, and platelet, were off the charts low. In fact, he'd already scheduled me to see an oncologist the very next day. So the next day I went and saw the oncologist, he ran some tests, and he called later in the day to say he had a diagnosis of hairy cell leukemia. My case was right out of the textbook. It was cut and dry. So I did what anybody would do who needs, 100% factual information about a vitally important subject. I went to Wikipedia. Because it's on Wikipedia, it must be true. Actually, I went to the LLS website, and it proved to be a great source of information. According to the LLS website, hairy cell leukemia is a slow-growing form of CLL, and its causes are not known. The disease is diagnosed in an estimated 500 to 800 cases in the United States each year, and typically hits white males between the ages of 40 and 60. HCL, hairy cell leukemia, was first identified in 1958, and there were no suitable treatments for the disease until 1984. Since the 1980s, there's been a progression of drugs that, when I was diagnosed, had reached a 95% remission rate for an average of 10 years, and if the disease relapsed, you could repeat the treatment again. Since I was on the younger end of that age range, and I had a very high hairy cell count, I entered a clinical trial at the National Institute of Health, NIH, in Bethesda, Maryland. My trial combines that current protocol with Rituxan. Rituxan is a drug commonly used in the treatment of non-Hodgkin lymphoma patients. In fact, its uses have been funded by have been developed by LLS-funded researchers. I was the third person in this trial, began 8 weeks of treatment in August of 2009, 4 years ago. The great news is that I was in remission at 30 days. We're all pretty excited about that. The best news is there are now 102 people in my trial. All 102 are in remission, 100%. Our doctor at NIH is now pushing to have our treatment be the new protocol for hairy cell leukemia. I mentioned the evolution of the treatments in detail because I think it's very important to highlight the tremendous strides we've made in the treatment of blood cancers over the years. For example, just in the last 30 years, we've gone from no satisfactory treatment for hairy cell leukemia to a 100% remission rate. That's something that LLS deserves a tremendous amount of credit for, and I hope that all of you share in that credit as well. Thank you very much. A year later, in the fall of 2010, a family friend in Florida was training for the nation's Tri as a member of Team of Training. She called to see if she could use my story in her fundraising. And I was intrigued about this program. As I learned more, I called our Charlotte office and spoke to Gwen, and she had me come and speak to the kickoff group in August of 2010 that was going to start training for the Kiowa Marathon as part of the winter team. And I was honored to be able to share my story with that group that was about to embark on this great adventure of running a long-distance race. And I played to kind of give them a pep talk, and then I was off to a Little League baseball game. But very quickly, I became amazed at the commitment that these people are about to make for people just like me. And somehow in the middle of my speech, I kind of blurted out, "And I'm going to go with you." And I signed up on the spot. And I bounced around that room. I was fired up. And I got about halfway home and got to a stoplight, looked in the rearview mirror and said, "Matt, what the heck did you just do?" Because you should know that I'm not much of a runner. I'd run a 10K at the age of 17 on a dare, and I had run another one at age 34 when I lost a bet. I was not scheduled to run again until I was 51 years old. But that Saturday we met at 6:30 for a 3-mile run, and I got to tell you, I was scared to death. I didn't know if I could do it. But, we took off and started running, and next thing I knew, Coach Garrett, Coach Steve were running next to me. They're here tonight, and I did it. And the next week we ran 4 miles, and the next week we ran 5 miles, and those Saturday runs quickly became one of the highlights of my week. And in fact, 4 months after that kickoff meeting, with the help of my teammates and coaches, I ran the Kiowa Marathon in 4 hours and 48 minutes. Truly one of the greatest challenges. And I'm definitely, tomorrow's going to be my second full to go on with 15 halves in the last 3 years. It's almost been like an out-of-body experience. I have no idea who it is, this person I've become. Some of my friends have even dared to call me a runner. And I am quick to point out, I am not a runner. I'm a long-distance endurance athlete. So during my journey, I've met lots of amazing people. I've met really smart and caring doctors and researchers who are working really hard to develop better treatments and cures for blood cancer patients. Many of those efforts are funded by LLS and you. I've met wonderfully compassionate nurses and technicians who feel a true calling to help cancer patients. I've met other blood cancer patients who are far sicker than I was, yet they have amazing outlooks on life. And I've met an inspiring group of people who meet on Tuesdays and Saturdays and run together. My teammates, supported by our coaches, mentors, training captains, and TNT staffers. Today there are 1,100,000 people in the United States living with a blood cancer. As I look out over this crowd, I'm overwhelmed by your support. I'll speak for my fellow patients and say thank you. You've given us the strength and the power to persevere. So tomorrow's race day. And whether you're running your first marathon or you're going to qualify for Boston, even if it's your birthday, it's going to be a great challenge. Just remember, you've got the energy of 1,099,999 people, plus me running with you. Let us give you the strength and the power to persevere. I'll see you at the finish line. Good luck. Go team.